Hey, on today's episode, I'm gonna give you 5 tips on how to be comfortable on camera and why. Don't miss out.
Welcome to IndustrialSage, a free video podcast series all about digital marketing for industrial manufacturers. Hear interviews with your peers and find out how they're solving the same challenges that you might be facing in your own field. Coming to you from the Optimum Production Studio in Atlanta, Georgia, this is IndustrialSage.
Hey, Danny Gonzalez here with IndustrialSage. Hey, before we jump into today's episode, I got a question for you. Do you have a solid digital marketing content plan? Or do you have questions around that? Well, listen, we've got a really great, free, awesome tool for you. It's our Digital Marketing Content Planner. It's a download that is a very comprehensive plan on how to take all of your digital marketing content, look at your personas, look at your calls to action, look at your strategy, and take everything that you have on your whiteboard or maybe in your head and really crystallize it and put it together in a very actionable format. So if you're interested in this, you can go to industrialsage.com/digital-content-planner and you get access to this free tool, and we'll even send you a 10-minute free guide on how to walk through and set it up. So I don't want to delay you any further. Let's jump into today's episode. Hey, okay, so being on camera is a big deal right now. Now I don't think most of you are being interviewed on the news and you're doing all this stuff, but there's these things called iPhones and Android devices and all that good stuff, right? And we all have 4K cameras walking around in our pockets. Now, it's no surprise that I'm sure you've seen on LinkedIn how much video content is coming in. You see people that are talking on camera, they're doing their selfie videos or they're in their offices and they're talking about it. And I can tell you from a marketing standpoint, that is an incredibly valuable tool. And so this video is really gonna be for your salespeople out there. If you're generating sales, if you're a part of that, video is going to be an increasingly strong tactic for you to be able to use, to be able to generate leads, to be able to follow up a conversation. And there's a lot of different applications on how you can use it. So creating content on your LinkedIn profile, for example. I know there's some interesting people. This guy, I'm actually gonna tag him. His name is Chris Lukey. I hope I pronounced your name right. I'm sorry if I did. But anyways, this guy, he actually works for Rockwell Automation, and I came across this stuff, and he's creating sort of his own video podcasts, and he's going and talking with different people in the organization, talking to I think internal people, talking to customers, going to trade shows, and he's building a really great following doing that, and it's very easy. Look, Chris, I'm not trying to say it's not easy, but what I'm saying is we have technology in our pockets where you're able to do that, and he's leveraging it. You're going to start seeing more of that, and likely you already have. LinkedIn is just one example. You're seeing it on Facebook. You're seeing all these different areas as well. One other area that we love, and we've talked about it on here on IndustrialSage several times, is actually using video in the sales process, and not just creating content on your LinkedIn profile and putting stuff out there on a regular basis, but using it as a way to follow up and to prospect. I know how to use video in sales is a webinar that we have. You can take a look at that. I would go into a deeper dive into that. And we've got other episodes where we talk about how to use that. I think with the 4 key steps to how I prospect, video is a big piece on that. Check that out as well. So a lot of different ways on why you might want to think about doing it and start doing it. So for the purpose of this video, what I really want to talk about is if you thought about, hey, listen, this is something I want to try, this is what I want to do. Here are 5 tips on really how to be comfortable in front of the camera. Because let's be honest, it's a little daunting and it can be really challenging. And honestly, step number 1 is being okay with being bad. The reality of it is, unless if you're really trained, or you've got some sort of natural experience, you're naturally talented or inclined to being on camera, there's a lot of fear, and you get worried, like, oh, how am I going to sound, or I'm vain, how do I look? I don't look that great, and what if I don't talk real good, and so I'm going to feel like I'm going to come out talking like this. No shame, we live in Georgia, it's all good. It's okay. You're going to probably be bad on camera the first time, and it's okay. The key here is really to cut through that fear, be all right with it, and go with it. I remember there's a guy that we follow, his name is Jason Swank. He does a lot of agency stuff, so he's got a great podcast. I follow that, and he talks about it all the time about how to basically be on camera, and that's like his number 1 tip. Is like, you're gonna be bad on it. It's gonna look bad. You're gonna do a bad job, and you just have to be okay. You have to be okay with that, and knowing that you're gonna improve. But if you just don't do it and you just stop out of that fear, there's a world of potential and opportunity that you're gonna have that you're gonna lock yourself out of by not doing that. So be okay with being bad. That's number one. Number two, let me get my little list over here. Oh, this is a really interesting one. I hope I don't kill that mic. This is a tip that our creative director, Jordan, here will do on when we do interviews and stuff with people. And it's kind of funny. It's kind of interesting. It's a little bit of a trick that we have up our sleeves, or he has up his sleeve. And that is to do a belly laugh before you go on camera. Well, why would you want to do that? So a belly laugh, so big, ha 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 ha. All right, that sounded super fake, right? Why do I want to do that? Well, what that does is it actually, it kind of opens up your diaphragm. It helps to create that natural smile. You sound kind of goofy, and it kind of loosens you up a little bit. And there's probably some science behind it too, that it might release like some endorphins or something in your, I don't know, something like that. But it really does help. So do that. It helps you to kind of loosen up. That's something you might want to do. The other thing I have on here, oh yeah, this is really important. Number 3 is to have a plan. So don't just turn on the camera and be like, yeah, we're just going to talk about whatever. I mean, if you've got that skill and that ability to be able to just rant and just go on a topic and stay in your lane somewhat, fine. But most people really need to have, like what I'm doing right now. Before we actually recorded this video, we said, okay, what are we going to do? We're going to go over these tips. And what are those 5 tips? Let's have those written out. I've got them on my piece of paper. This is my cheat sheet, okay? All right? This is from Martin & Company Guitars. I don't know. Anyways, so that's what we have here. That's my cheat sheet. It's okay to have a cheat sheet. Have your list so you know you can stay on topic and go from there. So a plan. What are the 5 points that we're going to cover? And do you feel okay like going deep into them or what have you? That'll help you. Well, my next point on that is to try to keep it short. So if you're a subscriber here at IndustrialSage, sometimes, you know, I kind of tend to ramble on a little bit. It's okay. In podcast format, it's all right. On, let's say you're going on LinkedIn, for example, you might not necessarily want to go on forever. Although, you know what, your audience, it just depends. You just you want to test that out. As we all know in marketing, that it's, nothing is 100% set in stone. It's not an exact science. I'll give you a really good, interesting example. AGCO, so the big farming equipment manufacturers, they make these big combines and all kinds of stuff. They did really cool company here in Georgia. They actually put together, from what I heard, a podcast. This was several years ago. And the podcast, audio version, I think they were an hour to an hour and a half long. That's really long form content. Now, it wasn't on video, but this is more of a connection into their audience. They were getting feedback. They thought, oh my gosh, an hour and a half, that's way too long. People are just going to completely just not listen to it. Well, they got feedback from people, from their customers, and their customers were like, hey, these are too short. We want more content. We want longer stuff. And they thought, well, that's kind of interesting. Why do they want that? And when they kind of dug a little bit deeper, they found out, well, think about these farmers or these guys who are using these big combines, and they're in the fields for 8, 10, 12 hours a day. They go through a lot of content. They want more stuff. That's interesting. So know your audience. That's really going to help you out in terms of figuring out that length. But I will say, for the most part, if you're going to be doing stuff on social media, keep it short and keep it highly relevant. All right, and the last tip that I have on here, I don't know if you can read that. Obviously, if you're listening on the podcast, you cannot read it. It says practice. Practice makes perfect. So it kind of goes back to that point number 1, right? You're going to be likely bad. You got to keep doing it, keep going. Practice, all right? So if you've got to run, it's okay. Like, you don't necessarily have to do it all in one shot. If you can't, great. You're probably not going to get there initially, right? But keep going, keep practicing, keep at it, and it's going to be awesome. It's really going to help. You know, we live in a culture and we live in a time of technology now that the ability of creating that transparency and creating that connections with people virtually, by creating that video, we're able to start developing relationships with people. In a weird thing is, you know, obviously you're not coming in and making a handshake, but it's like a digital handshake, and you create a following there, and people start trusting you, and people start looking at you as the expert in the industry. And that's, I think, really part of that value on why you might want to do that. So anyways, if it's something that you're thinking like, hey, this is totally what we want to do, here you go. Take these tips, do this, keep practicing, keep going at it. It's gonna be awesome. So thanks for listening, thanks for watching. If you like this, please like, share, subscribe, do all the above. If you're on iTunes, we'd love a review. If you have any questions you'd like us to answer, or any particular topic you'd like us to cover, please send in. We love hearing from you. IndustrialSage.com/questions. And until next time, I'm Danny Gonzalez, and this is Industrial Sage.